I was supposed to say the family pledge and Easter. Well, hope you're all doing well this morning. A little bit sparse crowd here. I guess everybody else is out hunting eggs. And yeah. Last week we had such a incredible sermon by Eugene, right? Were you here to receive that? That was so amazing. Her insight and her just sincere devotion, her energy, everything. Wow, so amazing. She's not here today. I wanted to give her some applause, but maybe we can do that anyway. Yeah. So, did you follow her advice from her sermon and spend this week with God? Did you have more moments with God this past week than before?
I behaved like a child.
There you go.
I really did.
I took good care of my stuffed cow that I got from her. Yeah, about a month ago, I told Pastor Gloria that I wanted to give a sermon about the family pledge, and she assigned me to this Sunday. It wasn't until later I realized, wait, that's Easter. So I want to talk a little bit about both Easter and the family pledge. I thought maybe to start with, we could just read through it silently, actually, just so you can reflect on your own. Family pledge number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. And number 8. Very good. Now I want to do a little meditation with you. Can you close your eyes for a minute? I want you to imagine our governor and all of our legislators bowing to true parents and saying the family pledge together before they start work. Imagine the President of the United States and all the congressmen together, meeting together, but first they bow to true parents and recite the family pledge. Can you imagine at the new temple being built in Korea now, all world leaders gathering together, presidents of many nations together to meet True Mother, to bow to her and say the family pledge together. How about that? Do you like that vision? Happy Easter. Yeah. So Easter, of course, is a day that we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ, our Savior. And I grew up in a Christian church and culture, so it was a joyful day for us. We would, my mother always prepared a beautiful basket with Easter eggs, chocolate eggs, chocolate bunny. It was an amazing time. I still remember when I was about 3 years old, I heard my brothers calling my name from the kitchen. They said, "Bobby, Bobby, come here quick." And I ran in and they said, "Oh, you're just too late. The Easter bunny was just here." But he left an Easter basket for you. Oh my gosh. Chocolate eggs. Oh, that was an amazing thing. So it was a joyful time for children in our culture, and also for adults. Women would buy new dresses to show off in church on Easter Sunday, and we'd have our egg hunt afterwards, and really nice meal and family gathering. So it was a really joyful time. But after having met true parents and learned about Jesus' life, we all came to realize it's not only a joyful time. When we consider the life of Jesus, it's also tinged with a lot of sadness when we realize that Jesus' life was a life of pain, starting so long before his birth, even from the time of Moses. Moses, having made the mistake of striking the rock twice, allowed Satan some condition to have a claim over Jesus' body, symbolized by that rock. And so from before his birth, even, trouble began for Jesus. He was, when he was still in his mother's womb, his mother Mary was living in the house of the high priest, Zechariah. What a wonderful place for him to grow up. But Zechariah couldn't keep that family together. He recognized, I suppose, a difficulty that it was going to cause his family, and asked Mary to leave. And then Jesus, when he was born, where was he born? Not in the high priest's house, not in a glorious place. We tend to romanticize it now as, the creche scene with we think about the angels and singing and the wise men coming, but it was a barn. Would God want his precious, only begotten Son to be born on a freezing night in a barn? A dirty barn with all the animals? I don't think so. So it was a struggle, a painful life for Jesus from the time of his birth and through his whole life. And he was mocked, he was betrayed, and opposed at every step. I don't think we can imagine the pain of Jesus' life. And then finally, when things were really falling apart, he tried one last-ditch effort to salvage his mission, asking his 3 main disciples to go and stay awake and pray with me overnight. But of course we learned that they couldn't, and God had to ask his only begotten Son to offer his very life as a sacrifice. so that he wouldn't lose everything. And you know, the typical Christian interpretation of what we have as Jesus' response handed down through the Bible is when Jesus said, "Let this cup pass," was, oh, that's his human frailty showing through. But if it was, that would have meant Jesus' mission had already failed. If that was his response, if that's what he meant, he wouldn't have been a pure offering before God. It would have been over right then. But really, he was just begging God for one more chance to unite the people of Israel and to build God's kingdom. Yeah, and because he said yes, then he succeeded. And although Satan exercised his maximum power to kill Jesus, God could exercise his maximum power to resurrect Jesus and to allow Jesus in spirit, at least, to continue his ministry, gather his disciples, and because of Jesus' absolute faith, even in the face of a miserable death by torture, his words have been handed down to us, his precious, precious words. So yeah, we might disagree with Christians a little bit on some points, but we can agree on the precious value of Jesus' teaching. He came with a whole new dimension of understanding about God. And it was difficult for the religious leaders of that time to understand him. They weren't aware that their religion was in need of an update. It was desperately in need of an update. They sometimes tried to trap him into saying something that they could use against him to prove that he was a heretic to all the people. Nathan, can we have the Bible quote, Matthew 22:34 through 40? Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question: "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." Well, this concept is also where we begin with the family pledge, isn't it? Family pledge number 1. Our family, the owner of Chanoguk, pledges to seek our original homeland and build the kingdom of God on earth and in heaven, the original ideal of creation, by centering on true love. Of course, they're not exactly the same words, but what do you think it means to seek our original homeland? What is our original homeland? Who can tell me in one word, what is our original homeland? Anyone? Our original homeland, True Father says, is God. God is our original homeland. Did you ever think about the source of your life? Of course, biologically, the source of our life is our parents and our lineage. We grow in our mother's womb, nourished by our mother's blood and bone until the time of our birth, and that's the physical source of our life. But what about the life itself? Let me ask you something. You ever seen a dead body? I was shocked when I saw the body of my father. I mean, it looked like him, but it was clearly not him. It was, what was left behind by him when he passed on. Well, that life itself, where does that come from? It has to come from God, doesn't it? It's a part of God given to you to manage, to cherish. That's how we can relate to God, because we're truly God's children. And when you go to spirit world, there's just one parent there. Everyone's parent is God. Your parents will be like your brothers and sisters. It sounds funny, but that's the way it is in spirit world. Yeah. So your fundamental identity really is that you're God's child. You're God's precious son or daughter. If you ever doubt your own value or goodness, think about that. You are God's precious son or God's precious daughter. That's who you are. Is that a valuable thing? It is, isn't it? So that's the very first thing that we're asked to do in the family pledge, is to seek our original homeland, to seek God, to know God better. And that's what made Jesus so special. He didn't just quote scriptures about God. He spoke from experience, his own experience of his relationship with God. And that's what I thought the first time that I met True Father in 1979. I joined the church in about this time of year in California. And a few months later, I was in New York on MFT, centered in New York City. But that was a little bit tough there, fundraising in New York and New Jersey, but we had the incredible blessing of being able to see True parents sometimes. And True Father called all the MFT from around East Coast to come and gave us a speech. Must have been autumn of 1979. I remember so well because I'd had a vision of True Father before I met the church, and I saw this man. I was kind of at a low point in my life, and I felt like I needed some help from somebody, help me overcome my sin, my problems, and to take responsibility for me. And I saw this man. I had a vision of a man standing at the foot of my bed, holding out his hands like this, and he was dressed like my father, and he had on like my father's overcoat and hat, but he didn't look like my father. He had a kind of a stocky guy, a little bit of a belly on him, like my father never had. But he's holding out his hands, like, okay, come to me. I'll take care of you. And when I had that vision, I just cried because it was just a vision. I need the real guy. So later, after I met the church, I thought, well, that must have been True Father. And so when True Father was coming out on the stage to speak at us, it was, I think, the Bamboo Room in the New Yorker Hotel. I was like staring at him and asking in my mind, was that you? Was that you, true Father, in my vision? And he looked at me and he smiled, and then somebody's tugging on me. Hey, you're supposed to bow. So I don't know if True Father was saying yes, or he was just smiling because this one poor ignorant guy is standing up straight while everyone else is bowing. But I felt, yeah, that was him. And when he spoke, I had that same feeling. I'm sorry I didn't look up the Bible quote about Jesus. If somebody said about Jesus, he doesn't speak like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, just quoting scripture. You know, he speaks with authority about God. That's what I felt about True Father. You know, I'd been to church so many times and heard so many sermons about God, but I really felt True Father spoke with authority. God is like this, he's like that. You know, from experience, it's a whole different dimension. So it was quite a few years later that True Parents gave us the family pledge. Yeah. And then when True Father was considering what he wanted to bequeath to humanity towards the end of his life, he selected the 8 great textbooks. You remember that time when the Chen Sung Young came out? It's this huge book of excerpts from True Father's speeches. And True Father identified that with 8 other or 7 other, mostly big books that True Father wanted to identify as his teachings eternally. But one of them wasn't a big book. You know what that was? It's the Family Pledge. That was kind of startling. That is one of the 8 great textbooks. Family Pledge is one of the 8 great textbooks. That's how important that it is. So its value is equal to maybe millions of True Parents' words. I think there's got to be over 1 million words in the 7 other textbooks. It fits on one page. Amazing. So it contains the concise essence of True Parents' thought. So that makes it very attractive for impatient people like me. I'm so impatient that if I'm listening to a song on the radio, I can't listen to the whole thing. They start the refrain, and I'm like, I heard that already. Turn it off. That's how impatient I am. So all a True Parents' thought on one page, that's fantastic. Give me the short version. So that's one reason I value the Family Pledge so much. But it's so precious, really, to have that all summed up. True Mother's thought, all summed up all together, and to be able to reflect on that daily with our Family Pledge, it's an amazing tradition that helps us to harmonize our mind and our life with God every day. Only thing I've talked about in the Family Pledge so far is our original homeland. I talk about everything there, it'll take all day, so we're not gonna do all that. Not gonna go through all 8 parts, but just wanted to share one more thing about reciting the Family Pledge, and then I'm gonna end up with some thoughts from my brothers. And last time we met, I asked my brothers to help me out here with this sermon and give me some of their insight into the family pledge. So I'm going to share some of that with you. So it's a simple thing, but I think of it often. True Father said that we shouldn't recite the pledge unless our mind and body are united. Now, there's different ways you can think about having your mind and body united. Several times at leaders' meetings, True Father would ask all the leaders there, "Did you unite your mind and body yet?" And we'd all kind of, you know. So there's that ultimate state of complete mind and body unity and ongoing everyday reality that true parents achieved. But there's also when you're really focused on something. You really are into it, you know, like Wayne playing his song. You know his mind and body are together if it's going to sound so good like that. Thank you, Wayne. And we should be like that in reciting the family pledge also. It should be our joyful, you know, not our, oh, I got to say this again, but our joyful, heartfelt proclamation of our faith and our unity with true parents' thought and ideals and life, their mindset, their heart. So don't just say the words. It has no value to just recite the family pledge, just saying the words, just to get through to, you know, from the beginning to the end and it's over. That's why I like to read through, as we did this morning, read through it silently and remember all these concepts and you know, let them resonate with my heart, and then pledge out loud, so that I'm really in there, you know, pledging with my heart to uphold this, you know, being one with the meaning of it. So yeah, as I said, I asked my brothers for some help, some insight. Hope you don't mind, guys, if I share this. Wayne, it's okay? Wayne said he liked number 5 because it says, I'll strive every day to achieve the unification of the spirit world and physical world. He says, you know, all those big things about uniting the whole world and all races and nations come together. I can't do all that, but I can strive. I can strive every day. So I appreciate that. And PG also liked that family pledge number 5. He said he was in a workshop in Las Vegas, and that's all they did was strive for the unification of spirit world and physical world. They talk about that, and then they do it by praying. He said they basically in the workshop there, if you haven't been, he said they pray, and then afterwards they pray. And then when they're done, they pray some more. And then to finish up, it's more prayer. So, yeah, that is how we can unite our mind and unite the physical world and spiritual world. You know, I used to think, I'm not sure I want to unite with the spirit world. There's a lot of scary people up there in the spirit world. But there's also True Father there now, and there's True Children and Damon M. And, you know, all the unification saints and Jesus and Buddha, all those good guys. And that's one of the precious values that we have in our new Chunwan, Chuncheon, thank you, Susan. Is yeah, it's such a pure spiritual atmosphere to pray anytime. Uh, I don't go there enough, but I encourage it, and was glad to have some time there this morning. Chris, I don't see Chris Fox here today. Ah, thank you, Chris. He's hiding the eggs. He commented about the phrase as the owner of Chanoguk. Wait, Chris, hi, thank you. Chris talked about ownership. How it's so important to have an attitude of an owner, because the owner takes full responsibility. The manager's supposed to do that. Sometimes even the manager can't show up in a business. The owner's got to be there, right? He's ultimately the one responsible. So it means you're responsible, and also you invest more than anybody. Owner's got to pay everybody in his business, right? Whether he makes any money or not, he's got to pay everybody to work there. Sometimes even for years. But when a good result comes, that the owner fully invests himself, a good result comes, and no one feels more pride in the success than the owner. And, we are the owners. Heavenly Parent is giving us that position as the owners of Chanoguk, because he wants us to feel pride in owning his kingdom. Pride of ownership by giving us something to do in that. Wayne also mentioned living for the sake of others, right? And how that just brings real life. Living for the sake of others is real life. And you feel it, and you know it, and you can see it in other people who are truly living for the sake of others. You can see they're really alive. On that same point, Reverend Reese said that this is how he checks himself. Am I really living for the sake of others? Because we tend to live only for ourselves. If we're not, if we just kind of drift into our day and just do whatever, we're living for the sake of ourself. But if you ask yourself that question, am I living for the sake of others? It raises your consciousness. You start to resonate with God, because that's God's way. So then add in centered on true love, and you're really getting somewhere then. Okay, Gary, I didn't forget you. Gary said that, I hope I get this right, you can correct me if not. Accomplishing these lofty goals of the family pledge is our faith. That's our faith. And we can accomplish great things, not just by making great effort, though, but by realizing that we can't do it alone. Maybe you should work like you have to do everything by yourself, but don't think you can do it all by yourself. Really, we need God. He says if we try to do it alone, we're going to fail. Why is that? We need God. Divine Principle says the accomplishment of God's will requires our total investment, but that amounts to at most 5% of the actual accomplishment of God's will. At least 95% is done by God. Why? Because He made everything. And the plan is His. The plan of God's kingdom is God's plan. And He is the one who is orchestrating everything. And if you think you have to figure it out, you have to figure out everything first before you can get started with accomplishing God's will, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. You don't have to figure everything out, and you don't have to do it all yourself. You have to put yourself out there representing God with the faith that God has already done almost everything except for you stepping out. All you got to do is open your mouth, say the words that God already prepared for you. Through true parents, you got everything you need to say already. And, just go out there and open your mouth and let it happen. Let God do it. So don't ignore God's central responsibility. Did I get the main points there? Okay, good. So I think that's a very healthy way to approach the family pledge, to try to understand these basic points of our faith, orient yourself in that direction, and represent these ideals in your words and your actions, trusting that your Heavenly Parent is guiding you to a wonderful place where all these ideals will be realized. Thank you. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for this Easter Sunday. Heavenly Parent, we remember the incredible faith of Jesus, and we recognize that after having served you with a whole heart his whole life, then being asked to top it off with execution by torture, if he was not fully in line with you, he couldn't have done that. He would have walked away, and his words would have been lost, and his life would have been in vain. You would have had to start everything all over again, Heavenly Parent. But he could do that, and he did willingly suffer that horrible death, and also maybe worse suffering, knowing that his mission to establish your kingdom on the earth wasn't going to happen. But he could do that in order to salvage something. And the only way I think he could do that was because he loved you so much. And he loved you so much because he knew how much you loved him. Heavenly Parent, so I pray for each of us that daily we can seek you, and that we can find your love, because we can do anything as Jesus could do the hardest thing. We can do anything if we really know your love. So thank you, Heavenly Parent. Thank you for loving us always, no matter what, all the time. You're always doing your utmost to make us happy and to bring us into a wonderful, happy world. Thank you, Heavenly Parent, for your amazing, total, absolute faith, and for our true parents who showed that same standard of absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience. Thank you for leading us to true parents and guiding us, and every day giving us everything we need. And you're hoping that we'll totally unite with you and allow you to work through us, and that we can see wonderful things happen. Thank you for this precious family pledge that reminds us of your ideals and your presence in our life every day. And thank you for each brother and sister here. I pray that we can unite together well and accomplish great things here in Columbus, Ohio. I pray in the name of Robert and Yoko Becker's blessed Central family.